I always had, like I said, a passion for space.
We're very happy to welcome Michaela Benthaus. You're currently in your last semesters of the master's program, but you're also involved in a lot of additional scientific work, and you did basically a zero-G flight.
Yeah, so a zero-G flight is a flight with a normal airplane. First of all, people always thinking like you're going close to space because you're weightless, but that's not the case.
You went to a thing called the LunAres Research Station. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Basically simulating living on a moon or Mars station on Earth. And on Saturday morning, isolation started. And then say okay, bye everybody, I'm gone now.
So you mentioned your accident before?
Yeah, one day I jumped too far. I was like, okay, I can't do all the sports anymore, which I did, but I still can do aerospace.
Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour.
Servus, and welcome to another episode of On Air Actually Rocket Science, the Student Council of Aerospace and Geodeszy's official podcast. I'm Kiki.
And I'm Gigi. And today we're very happy to welcome Michaela Benthaus. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So, Michi, you're an aerospace student here at the Technical University of Munich, and you're currently in your last semesters of the master's program. But you're also involved in a lot of additional scientific work, which we're gonna dig into today. So we would like to start off with the master's with a few very simple questions. So the first question would be, what was your favorite module?
That's hard to say. I think there are a lot of modules I really liked. Also, I'm more on the space side of things and not so much airplanes. Like I took only, I think, aircraft design and aerodynamics one. And the rest is different lectures and more in the space direction. And I really liked orbital mechanics. That was definitely one of my favorites. And I also liked, I drifted a little bit towards physics, and I did astroparticle physics 1 and 2. And that was really great. So I can recommend that one.
But, speaking of aircraft design, if people haven't seen the podcast episode with Professor Hornung,
check it out.
You should go check it out. It's very cool.
And so for those who are unaware about the master's structure, because I think there is a very specific way the modules have to be taken according to certain topics. Is there any, general rule, like for example, 3 modules in structures, things like that one needs to follow? Or is
yes, there are different boxes or however you would call it, or categories where different lectures are in. And as far as I know, you have to take one lecture out of each category. I think they are 5 or 6. So that is what you have to do. But the rest is really free, which I think is really cool because you have a lot of different lectures you can choose between.
And you did your bachelor's in Linz and you studied mechatronic.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, what were the main differences between bachelor's and master's?
So maybe I should first start off that I didn't start with mechatronics, but with economics.
Okay.
Because I actually wanted to study physics after school, but, my imposter syndrome kicked and I was like, okay, I think I'm too dumb to do that, which is a very, woman thing. So, definitely just go for whatever you want to do, right? I studied 4 semesters of economics and then I was like, okay, that's not for me. So and then I just got into mechatronics because that's what they offered at this university. And it was definitely the right decision to go with that. It was the first step in the direction towards aerospace, even though it was very different, of course. It's a mix out of mechanical and electrical engineering.
Tough.
Which is a good foundation, but then going to aerospace was still quite a switch.
So how come you decided to switch to aerospace? Have you always wanted to study aerospace eventually? Or was it something that you came up with during your bachelor's?
No, actually, if I think back, I always wanted to do that. even though I didn't know that aerospace exists, like after school, I was like, okay, I do physics and then go with astrophysics. But I like aerospace or engineering in general was really never on my radar. Okay. So yeah, and then it just happened, and I figured out, hey, there's aerospace, and I was like, yeah, that's what I need to do. And so I had my accident at the end of my bachelor's. But even before my accident, like kind of in the beginning of my bachelor's, I was always like, okay, I want to do my master's at home in aerospace. So it was like a longer process to get there.
Okay, interesting. And overall, what were the highlights and shortcomings of the program?
The highlights, I think that you can choose so many different lectures, which I really liked. Mm-hmm. Because you probably know it from, are you in the bachelor's?
In the bachelor's.
In bachelor's, okay. So you probably know that there are a lot of lectures you have to take, like math, maybe a little physics, coding. Yeah, so you're not very free in what you can choose, right? But for the master's, it's actually very different. Like you can really choose whatever you want, kind of, beside of the those categories you have to take from. But so I think that is really cool.
Yeah.
Since I started my master's 2020 in the winter semester.
Oh, that was also a bad year with COVID, right?
Yeah, and I still haven't done my bachelor's at this point. So I already started the master's, but I needed to finish my bachelor's. So it was kind of an overlap. But there we haven't had that many space lectures here. It's just, in the last kind of 1 or 2 years, maybe, a lot of aerospace institutes are kind of popping up, so that was a little sad for me because I always feel like, okay, now's the time to study aerospace, now all the cool institutes and lectures are coming. So that was a shortcut for me, but not for you anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And so you talked about your passion about astrophysics, which you've apparently always kind of had inside of you. And how did you combine it with the master in aerospace? Because you mentioned you can, choose a lot of modules, but how exactly did you combine it?
So I think I always had this like physics side, and I really like math a lot and everything which is like a little more theoretical. So when I started my master's here, I didn't think I would switch a little bit towards physics, but then there are interdisciplinary lectures you can take. I think there you can only take 3. But so I just, went through the TUM Online website and looked like, okay, what lectures do they offer? And I found Introduction to Astrophysics and Astroparticle Physics 1 and 2. So I just signed up for them, and then it kind of happened, that I thought like, okay, that's cool. Like go a little bit with that. And but it was not planned.
But you also mentioned before the podcast, we had a short chat where you said that you're actually doing your thesis at the physics chair.
Yeah.
So was that also, let's say, is that something you discovered through those astrophysics modules that you wanted to do your thesis there? Or?
Yeah, I did. I also then decided to do working student position. I know. Yeah. Do you know what it is? Like you work, for example, 1 day a week.
Max 20 hours.
20
max 20 hours. Exactly. At the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics, which is just on the other side of the street here.
Oh, that one.
That one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, and they're doing astronomy. And so I kind of already got into that direction. And I definitely see myself working a little bit at the intersection of aerospace and physics. And so I was searching for a master thesis, and I really didn't know like which institute I should choose. And then it just kind of happened that somebody told me about this topic I'm working on now. And I was like, sounds good. I give it a try.
Yeah.
And
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you mentioned your accident before. For people who perhaps are not familiar with your story, do you maybe want to talk about?
Yeah. I did downhill mountain biking. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's basically going up with a gondola and just riding down with a bike, like with a mountain bike with like a full face helmet, a lot of protection. And I really love to do that. And one day I jumped too far and just broke my spine, and now I'm in a wheelchair. Yeah.
And
so that's basically it.
Right. But I saw, so you obviously, you like mountain biking, but I saw online that you tried out some different things after your accident, some go-karting, some wheelchair tennis. Has one of those stuck around with you?
Well, yeah, I did go-karting a lot after my accident, directly like the first 2 or 3 years. And also, there are no karts with hand controlled, so I need to buy my own one. And now I have like brake and gas behind the steering wheel. Yeah. But I decided only to drive anymore when I'm like super fit, because I don't want to crash again, I'm done with the injuries for this life. So, and right now it is just so much going on that I never feel like really fit. Mm-hmm. And so, I kind of.
Also, I can imagine the time is not quite there. If you if you have bachelor thesis and all of that, finding the time is
like
also
right now it's a busy period, and then so many side projects always happen. Like we probably talk later about it, but so that was all very time consuming.
I can imagine.
But what I still do is wheelchair tennis. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And so we're having this conversation. You're obviously in good spirits now, but I assume that it takes a long time to adjust to a new lifestyle like that. How long was that for you to?
Yeah, I would say it was 1 year. Like I was 8 months in a hospital and on rehab, which was a challenging time. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was really hard to figure out how life is now. And I was not even sure, like, can I finish my bachelor's? Can I live on my own anymore? Can I drive car? Yeah. Which turned out to be not a problem, thankfully, but I didn't know at this point, you know. So, then I decided to go back to Linz, to Austria, where I did my bachelor's, kind of fully on my own and finish my bachelor's. And that was actually the point where I kind of had this, okay, I have like a daily routine again. Right. Like I go to university, I study with my former friends, which I also studied with before my accident. And that kind of helped to get into this normal life again. So as soon as I started there, And then also, I always had, like I said, a passion for space, and I really wanted to do aerospace. So I was like, okay, I can't do all the sports anymore, which I did, but I still can do aerospace. So kind of used all my energy to get into that.
And so it's obviously a life-changing moment. Did your thoughts about the future change? Did you have new outlooks, things that you aspired for?
So, first of all, I kind of had a plan for my life, which was like, okay, I will move to Munich and do my master's in aerospace here. And then I go like to the mountains every weekend, go mountain biking and snowboarding. That turned out to be not the case anymore, of course. So I kind of needed to adjust my expectations for the future a little bit and build a new life. But beside of that, I would say my dreams are still the same. Like I still want to work on the same jobs. I want to be in the space industry. So it's more like the free time or hobby component, which needed to change a little bit.
But so you're saying that, there's things that you no longer can do that you would like to do. Yeah. Are the things that you feel like you appreciate more, or that you've learned to like?
So first of all, family and friends. I mean, it sounds bad. I always appreciated my family and my friends, but if you have to go through such a time, it's really hard to do it by yourself. So I was really happy that I had such a good environment, which really helped me through it. Yeah. So I think that's something which I appreciated
but
before,
it's
but
different.
now I know how important it is.
Yeah.
So, and health in general, like now I'm like, okay, that's not cool how it is, but if it stays like this, I'm good, but please don't let it be any worse.
Yeah.
So,
And so, maybe, as well about the campus here, from your experience that's unique, how would you say that the accessibility is in Garching, and are there things that the university can improve?
Well, let's put it this way. In Germany, there's always something which can be improved.
Right.
So this includes TUM.
Okay.
But it's
Understood.
okay. Like
Yeah.
it's not super bad here,
Yeah.
but there are like small things which, definitely can be better.
Is there an example of that where, like, in your daily life, where you're trying to do your uni and get to your courses, and just one thing where you're like,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it is fairly possible to study here in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
But one thing which I think is a little sad, that I know that it's hard to make it different because the structure of the building is like it is. We always have these lecture halls which are just going down.
Oh, yeah.
But I can never sit next to friends.
Yeah.
I always need to sit like in the very front where I'm kind of exposed to everybody.
Yeah, okay.
Or in the very back
Mm-hmm.
where I have a hard time to see in the blackboard.
Yeah.
Or on the screen. So I don't know how to change it, but it would be nice if I could sit a little more with the other people.
Yeah.
Which was okay for the masters because it was COVID and everything was online. And but I think it's kind of challenging for a person who starts the bachelor's and who is in a wheelchair, then kind of, to build the self-confidence to not feel bad to sit in the very front and be in the spotlight and then get in touch with other people. So,
yes.
Yeah.
So in December 2022, you participated to a very cool program in Houston, right?
Yes.
And you did basically a 0G flight, right? So maybe for the people who don't know, could you explain to us what a 0G flight is?
Yeah, so a 0G flight is a flight with a normal airplane.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, people are always thinking like you're going close to space because you're weightless, but that's not the case. Like you're like flying on the same height like basically normal airplanes do. But then you fly a very like special trajectory, which is a parabola. And due to that, you have a period of free fall, which kind of makes you weightless.
Yeah.
So, and it's, so we did, I think 18 parabolas.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like, it's always.
Can you do them continuously?
Yeah.
Oh.
You always do 5 and then a little break because, people have to adjust the experiments and stuff like this.
Yeah.
And then the next 5.
Cool.
And you can also do lunar and Martian gravity.
Oh, cool.
All right.
So, you just need to fly different steep, I think.
Yeah.
Hope that's correct. So, I think we did first 3 Martian parabolas, or 2, then 3 lunar, and then the rest.
That's so cool, actually. That you can. I didn't know you could adjust it.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool.
All right, nice.
I was a little sad because you always see these videos of people hopping on the moon, like and I wanted to do that, but of course it's hard for me.
And
I tried like this, but
with the hands.
So you mentioned that you do like multiple parabolas during one flight, but when you're at the lowest point, do you have a moment where you get squeezed somehow?
Yeah, You have like when you go up, you have a small like the whole parabola is not very long because your weightless period is like 20 seconds.
Oh, okay.
So it's not a lot. And then the whole parabola might be, I don't know, a minute,
all right,
2 minutes, but it's pretty fast. Like one parabola is pretty fast done. So you have a like small hypergravity phase, like when you're going up and when you're going down, which is I think 1.8 G. So it is not super much, but it depends how sensitive you are.
Yeah.
Like that is a phase where people can get motion sick.
Right.
All right.
Like, so usually they tell you just to lie on the ground and like put your head like looking on the ground. So, and don't move.
Okay.
So that, your brain doesn't get confused. But thankfully I was not so affected. But so after a few parabolas, I started to look around and see what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's
okay.
Yeah.
And what was your personal goal during the 0G flight?
So first, there were like different goals. There was not like the one goal, but first of all, of course, being a part of it and also kind of showing it because, you can do the greatest stuff, but if nobody sees it, it doesn't change the world, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to show it to people and say like, see, here are people who are having disabilities and they can actually do this stuff to kind of change people's mindset. And then we also did experiments. So I did, for example, one seat docking experiment. So first of all, in a 0G plane, in the back, there are normal seats. So where people sit while starting and landing. And then there's like a bigger area where you can just float around.
Yeah.
So, and one of my experience was sitting on those seats where you start and land and trying to buckle myself into a, how are they called? The belts.
Like a harness or?
Yeah, maybe.
With the different
with
points.
Also,
yeah, which has like 5.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is it 5?
Like
yeah.
a harness.
A harness, yeah. Okay, let's put it that way. I don't know if you know it, but astronauts on the space station, they have like straps where they can put their feet under it to not float away. Because if they want to work on experiment, they need both hands. And even if you want to turn a screw or something like this, you would just float directly away, you know? So they kind of put their feet under lashes or however it's called, which I can't do because I have no control about my legs. So we kind of did a construction where I had 2 sticks, which I could we did it on the ground, but it doesn't matter. Like in 2G, every direction is the same. Yeah. So you can also do it on a wall where I could attach to the ground and then be stable and work on stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
and that worked too? And
it worked very well too, yeah, actually.
But did you also develop like some of these systems, like especially the one with the sticks, or was it more the actual testing part?
No, for me it was the testing part, but some other person from Astro Access developed.
Okay.
It. Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, you told us about the experiments and what you did on it, but let's say, generally speaking, what did you learn through this experience?
What did I learn? First of all, that it worked out from an experimental side. But yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question.
Gigi's known for giving very hard questions.
No, it's a good question.
It's a very philosophical question,
yeah,
I guess.
Exactly, because it was like, there's a thing with zero gravity, you know, it was so short. Almost microgravity.
Right.
So it was only 20 seconds and I was always like, okay, it just started and then it stopped again.
Mm-hmm.
So I would love to be a longer time in microgravity because I just want to be like totally quiet and close my eyes and
immersed in the experience.
Yeah, and feel how it is to not feel your body or something like this. And this is something which I couldn't experience because it was done so fast.
But are there flights where the period of microgravity are longer?
Not with an airplane because it is because
of
technical
limitations.
Yeah.
Right.
You have to be a pilot of one of those planes.
It's cool. Actually, you need 3 pilots
I didn't even
to
think
fly
about
it.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
Why do you need 3 pilots to fly?
Because first of all, you have to have this trajectory very straight. And then you also, you don't want to have lift or something like this, right? So you have to have one pilot who's only working against the lift, who's steering the airplane in a way that it's always balancing the lift.
Right.
Because otherwise you would just fly against the wall so there's 3 pilots, which kind of...
That's pretty cool.
So
Imagine
crazy.
your job is just to, all right, here we go.
No. Work against the lift. I wonder how they coordinate all of this.
I mean, that's
crazy.
It looks kind of crazy, yeah.
But and did you have to prepare for this for a long time, or was it?
No, it was a lot of preparation, but it was not only the experiments. So it was paid by a program which is called Astro Access. Yeah. They are an American project, and they kind of want to turn the space industry in a more accessible place, and also, of course, work on making human spaceflight accessible. Yeah. And since it was with this program, I think, when did I got selected? At the beginning of July.
Did you apply for it?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
so there's an application process.
Yeah, you need to record a 2-minute video. Okay. I think I tried it 1,000 times because I wanted to go so bad, know.
Not good enough. Not good enough.
Again. And then just fill out some stuff, and then our flight was like I got approved at the beginning of July, and then our flight was in December, so it was like half a year, and we had basically meetings every evening.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Crazy.
But about
so it was like it depends on how many groups you kind of join, but if you like, they call the people on the flight the ambassadors. And if you are an ambassador, you kind of had to participate in stuff. You cannot just say like, hey, I want to go on this flight and I show up in Houston and that's it. So one meeting was, for example, to figure out how do flight suit need to be adapted.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, for example, since I can't use my legs and control them. So of course, I don't want that they like spreading out in 0G, and just going somewhere where I don't want to have them.
Sure,
so we kind of, towed them together, I would say. Like had a strap.
I actually think I saw it in the video that there was like
it worked medium well. It kind of slipped off of my foot.
Right. Okay.
So that's a takeaway to do better next time.
It's so crazy how many things you need to consider. Like, for example, this part with the legs, that...
Yeah, so some person, like Astraxis did a flight before, like the year before, which was only open for Americans to apply. But one of the people who was on this flight, he told me like, you need to do something with your legs. Like they kind of bothered me.
So you mentioned before that the other people on the flight, ambassadors, do you still have a contact with them or a relationship with them now, or?
Yeah, we still have a WhatsApp group, which is kind of a social WhatsApp group where everybody can just put stuff in, even if it's like not like totally work related. And also there was a guy from Spain who's also in a wheelchair. We have been the only both European ambassadors. So I'm from time to time in touch with him because he's a little older than me and he worked for Airbus. He was not a test pilot, but an engineer who's sitting like on the test airplanes.
Okay.
All right.
And I think they had an accident with this one. So, that's why he's in a wheelchair. So he has a little more experience than me in the space or aerospace industry. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of a little bit a mentor, which I ask from time to time.
That's pretty cool to have.
That's cool too. So the next cool thing that you've done, one of the cool things that you've done, you went to a thing called the LunAres Research Station in Poland.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about what that is?
Sure. So first of all, that's called an analog astronaut mission, which means that you basically simulating living on a like moon or Mars station on Earth. This is a station in Poland, like it's a moon station. And you usually go in there for 2 weeks, with like, we have been 5 people, sometimes it's 6. And they are totally strangers. Like you don't know them before.
Right.
But when you say,
you like meet them in the pre-flight days. Like, hi, I'm Michi. Right. And then you're logged in for 2 weeks.
Oh, so you stay like the entire time.
You stay the entire time, and you have no.
Did you not get that?
No, I thought it was like a job where you go in the morning.
No. I was in there for 2 weeks, and you have no window at all. So, you can't call, you can't use like WhatsApp, any social media. You have to like.
Did you like the people you were with?
Yes.
Okay.
I did.
Thankfully,
I did.
No,
we had a great group dynamics, which is not always the case.
Man, so they don't have windows where like instead of going outside, it's a picture of the moon so that you can feel like
they have actually. So the thing is, you are in the station. It has different modules. Okay. Like a kitchen module, a sleeping module, where you like all people sleeping in one module, and you have only just a small bed.
Okay.
So that's your own like private space you have. Right. Like you can put your things there and hide if you want for a while, but we didn't even have curtains to put in front. So it was.
Did you have a toilet there though as well? Or
Gigi, no, I'm sorry. Michi, one second. Gigi, what do you think?
Yes,
I want your honest
think
answer.
So, but then again, like
okay, so next
maybe
question.
it was a special toilet. I don't know.
I just had the most brilliant idea, and this is going to be copyrighted by me. Combining the LunAres space station on a 0G flight so that you're in a space station but you're just constantly experiencing.
Is that not the greatest idea? After a day, you will really get motion sick.
But if
for
you're going to do
2 weeks, are you insane?
Go big or go home. That's my thought.
God.
No, it's okay.
Will I try you first?
Yes, please. If any. Okay, so we asked before, was there a goal for the 0G flight? Is there something that you went in for this and you said, okay, this is what I'd like to learn, research that you'd like to do?
Yes. Yeah. So first of all, in general, there are a lot of different analog stations all over the world. For example, I think it's in Utah in the US, there is a Mars Desert Research Station or something like this. So it's kind of in the desert. And in Poland, where I was, they don't have like a fancy desert or something around. So they focus on the psychological effects of isolation. So what you basically, and that is not very fancy, have to do is answering a lot of questionnaires every day. Like, what are your feelings for the station? Like, I don't know. How are you doing today? Do you have any conflicts with mission control or with your crew members or whatever? So it's every day, a lot.
Is it via radio that you communicate, or do you write them down?
No, it's you have tablets and laptops.
Okay.
So you also can bring your own laptop and you can use internet.
Yeah.
But you can only communicate with emails with your family.
Okay.
Which I didn't do much then. I sent some emails, but it's so much. Like, you're very busy all day with the schedule there.
So that's what I want to ask too. Is that obviously you're trying to simulate being an astronaut to a certain extent. I know ISS astronauts are very busy. How did you guys keep busy on the station?
So it was everyday schedule, which was important also to. I mean, we had I think 1 day off.
Over the entire time.
Yes, like one. I mean, we still had to do the questionnaires. That's mandatory for every day. But the rest of the day we could just chill and whatever we want to do. Yeah. But for the rest, it usually starts with it's like on a space station. People have different roles. Like for me, I was the commander, so my task was to make sure that everything is running, like that the group dynamics is good, that everybody feels comfortable and stuff like this. Then there's an executive officer, which is like a vice commander. Yeah. So, and then there are like mission engineers, biolab officers, stuff like this. So everybody has a different task. And for example, the engineers, they have to do HAP check every day. So they need to go around and see how much water we used, because we also just had a limited amount of water for the 2 weeks. So
that's why I asked about the toilet. Because if you have a limited,
it actually is a
because your question was, is there a toilet?
Yeah. Okay. True. Maybe I phrased that badly. You're right.
But yeah, so you can't take shower every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, the toilet kind of got me off of concept.
Sorry. Sorry about that.
Fine. You're distracting our guests.
Oh yeah, we were with the schedule. The schedule. That's where people start off with. You need to do every day a med check, like measuring your blood pressure and stuff like this. Okay. Then you do like the stuff like HAP check, what the engineers are doing. Then I had a commander's call with mission control, where we called about like using Discord, but like a phone call, like with mission control, and they told us, I don't know, how much water we used the day before, or if they have any concerns or whatever. Also, what we need to do this day. And then they ask us, like, how are the crew members doing? Are they doing well? And, so it's, then after that, we had a lot of questionnaires. Then we did, I think, a meditation. Like, it was, I think, a group bonding thing somehow. And like a relaxing, calm down thing. Then, of course, you have to do lunch and cook by yourself, but you mostly eat freeze-dried food.
Right.
So it's
delicious, right?
Yeah, it was not that bad. Really? I have it at home now.
Okay,
cool.
Yeah.
So on the note of, because I think I saw a picture of your time at this Lunar Research Center, and I think I saw one where you had like plants. Did you do some experiments also? Because you mentioned someone being a biological...
Yeah, you can basically propose experiments, and there are also some biolab experiments, but we also had the meditations. They have been like every other day with lavender. I don't know why, but they kind of wanted to figure out if that helps people to,
all right,
like, was always try to connect to your plant. And because, on the moon, you don't have any plants. So I think that was kind of a thing. Then you have to do sports, or I don't know if you know, but like on the ISS, astronauts have to do like 2 hours sports a day or something like this. So for us, it was a lot less, but. And then there's the thing, you can't leave the station except you're doing an EVA, like an extravehicular activity, which is kind of, when the astronauts going in this big white spacesuits out of the ISS. So we had a small moon area with like some dust or dirt or whatever. And for that, we need to put on a spacesuit and, and follow all the procedures. And then 2 people... I couldn't go out because, it's not possible with the wheelchair. But yeah, so I was HAPCOM, like the people who are talking to the astronauts and sitting in the habitat. It's always like 2 people going out to sitting in the habitat. They're called HAPCOM and HAPCOM support. So that was more my task then. And you also need this kind of control room language. Like if I...
Right.
Yeah.
A certain way of speaking, of communicating. Yeah.
If I want to call you, I think I say Greta for calling you. Then I say Michi, that I'm Michi.
Like that. Yeah,
and then I say, please turn the light out or whatever.
Yeah.
So I need to adjust a little bit to that. And also you have to talk to mission control on Discord and tell them what's going on. And,
also simultaneously.
Yeah, so our first EVA was embarrassing, honestly. Like, we really didn't got it at all.
I mean, to be fair, though, if you have so many things to think about, I can
also,
see that.
I really, underestimated it because I looked at the procedures the day before and I was like, okay, everything is written there. That can't be so hard, right? But then, when I needed kind of in real time to tell everybody what they have to do, but also read the procedures to get to know what we actually have to do, then talk to mission control and put it all in the right words. It was a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm curious about, because if I'm putting myself in that position, I'm curious about 2 moments. The first moment is the second that door gets closed for the first time and you realize, okay, this is going to be my next 2 weeks. And the second moment is when that door gets open again. And
after the 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That are some, both 2 really key moments. Locking yourself in is okay because you kind of are excited for the mission.
Right.
And you still have social media the first day. Like, we locked ourselves in on Friday at 5. And on Saturday morning, isolation started.
All right.
So it's like it's smooth. Like, okay, you're in the station now, but you can still call your family or whatever and kind of say goodbye.
Yeah.
For me, it was weird to kind of remove my apps like Instagram, WhatsApp, from my home screen. And then say like, okay, bye everybody. I'm gone now. That was a weird feeling, which I had like the first day where I was like, I just want to call or what I do usually, like send a WhatsApp message.
Routine.
Especially after such an exciting day, you kind of want to share your experience with
and like sitting down writing an email is like So
dearest mother.
Yours sincerely.
That was a weird feeling, but it went away pretty quick because you have a lot to do and you have always people around, right? Which you want to connect with because that are your crewmates for the next 2 weeks. So, that was pretty much okay. And then for getting out, so let's say it that way, like 2 weeks are totally fine. Yeah. We could have also gone longer. Okay. But after 2 weeks, it slowly starts. If you're thinking like, hey, I would like to have a coffee, or so I mean,
something that's not freeze dried, or
like we have also some other food, not only freeze dried, but thankfully we had an Indian girl which was so good in she is actually American but coming from India.
Okay,
so she was so good in cooking, like she could really do such good meals out of nothing.
That's crazy.
Which kind of saved us.
And I was actually wondering, after like 2 weeks, did you feel like you start clashing with each other?
Yeah, well, let me first tell another thing. When we got out, the thing is your eyes getting adjusted. to the small space.
Right.
So even only in those 2 weeks, you don't realize it, but if you come out, everything is so big and your eyes can't focus on trees anymore. I couldn't see the trees very sharp anymore. Okay. I was like, oh, and the
I
sky
am blind
is so
now.
far.
Yeah. Oh, the sky, yeah, sure.
I was like, oh, wow. So that was interesting.
That's cool.
Something I didn't consider.
Things you don't think about.
Yeah. No, they told us don't drive car in the first 2 days, so I don't know when you come out, and I was like, why not? Then I came out like, oh yeah, it's bright, and yeah. And for problems within the group, so we got really lucky, honestly. We were very different personalities, so we've been 2 girls from America, 1 guy from Peru, 1 guy from Poland, and me. So yeah, we had all like very different cultural backgrounds and very different personalities, but it matched very well.
Yeah.
And I think we had also a very like open communication and kind of tolerated a lot because if it's only 2 weeks, it's easy to say, or kind of easy to say, like, okay, I just don't care. If somebody does something you don't like whatever.
Yeah.
So like get into a discussion or a fight. That's something. Yeah, if you should ever get in the situation to do such a mission, like choose your battles wisely. Especially in the beginning, don't kill the group dynamics with like getting in dumb discussions which are not necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm picturing Gigi and I doing a.
Oh hell no! We would not last. We would not last half a day. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
But that's what I thought too. Honestly, I was like really for the 0G flight. I was like super excited. That was only fun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh well, that will be so
go.
great. And and for the analog mission, I was like, I think it will be great, and it will be an experience which I grow personally.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also like, okay, I hope it will be okay.
Yeah, definitely more challenging.
Yeah, it was more challenging, and it was not only purely positive feelings. It was also a little scared.
Yeah.
And so, obviously, you've just talked about some of the challenges. Were there different, let's say, physical challenges that you faced because of your condition?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't participate in the EVA as an astronaut, or like. I mean, they're all astronauts when they're on the moon, but, as an astronaut who leaves the station, of course. Other than that, so the thing is, even those analog stations are usually not made for people with a disability. Mm-hmm. So it was like, LunAres is kind of starting this off now. It was like one of the very first missions where a person with a disability was on it. So they were kind of still in a figuring out how things work phase. But they did a good job with doing it accessible, even though there are like smaller things like which could be done better. And that was one of the things I did. I wrote a report about what challenges I had and what could be done better if somebody wants to improve a habitat for a wheelchair user. So yeah. But do you mean with physical challenges like, moving around and bathroom stuff and the bathroom? I mean, that's a thing too, right?
Because I'm sure there's not because there's a difference between regular bathrooms and accessible bathrooms.
So I had a camping toilet.
Okay, cool.
So, I'm not going to get into details of toilets, but I will Google this afterwards.
Yeah. No, it was fine.
Yeah.
And so, talking about future plans, you're starting as a young graduate trainee at ESA. And what exactly will your role be there?
So,
let's say in general, what is a young...
I wanted to say maybe we can explain the program a little bit. So, the YGT or Young Graduate Trainee Program is a program for people who just graduated. Like if you both just graduated your master's, you need to have a master's, then you can apply. And you can also just have 1 year of professional experience after you finished your master's.
What is considered as like professional experience?
Basically working in the space industry.
No, man. Like, is an internship, does that count as professional experience?
If you do a...
See? It's not that easy.
Yeah, no. So everything you did while you did your master's doesn't count. So just stuff which you start after your master's.
Okay. So it's a full-time job.
So, but if you do like I don't know, which is unrealistic, but a 3 years internship, then you would be not eligible to apply anymore.
Okay.
If you do a half a year internship, maybe a year, it would be still okay. But it's really like to get you started in your professional life. So, and it is a program which is limited to 1 to 2 years. Like you get a 1 year contract and then you can maybe expand a second year, but then you have to leave ESA. Like you can't stay.
Like you can't keep working. Okay. No. So you're there for a year, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you have to leave.
But could you start working there full time after this program? Or?
So the thing with ESA is like they're having the trainees.
Yeah.
And then they have staff positions.
Yeah.
And honestly, the staff positions, I mean, if you want to work in such an environment, because like ESA is a big organization.
Sure.
If you rather want to work in a startup, it's a totally different dynamic. But if you say like, okay, I want to work there, then a staff position is what you want to get at some point. But they're really like super hard to get because you don't pay tax, so they pay really good.
Wow.
And so also the YGT, like that's a plus point too. Like they pay so good. Like you wouldn't get that money starting another job, I think, after your master's. But that's not the reason why I applied, but I'm sorry. But that's always forgetting about that. A good bonus.
Right. It's a motivating factor.
It's a motivating, yes. Exactly. And it is also a super competitive program.
Yeah.
So it's super hard to get in, honestly. And so that kind of crashed my LunAres mission too. Because it was in the middle of the ESA application process and you could apply to 3 positions and I got invited for all 3 for first interview, and 2 of them have been while I was in LunAres. So I needed to prepare there additionally, which
tough.
Yeah. Oh, it's not the best thing, but it worked out eventually. So that's the program, and you can apply for like it's called a trainee position, but you're not switching jobs like usually, or trainees are like rotating in a company, but you apply for one position and you will work on this position for a year. And I will work on, you probably don't know because I didn't know either before I read the position, but it's called planetary radio occultation. Okay. And that basically means when a satellite sends radio signals through an atmosphere of a planet, the radio signals get changed due to the atmosphere. Like, they kind of get bent. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So because there are like different pressure levels, but it's layers. That's the word I'm looking for. So the atmosphere is composed of different layers. So you get like a refraction profile, which makes bending. So, and from measuring that, you can reconstruct like temperature profile, pressure profile, the ionosphere, also electron density and stuff like that. And my position is for Mars. So I will work on Mars atmosphere, which is pretty,
It's exciting.
It is really cool. Yeah. It's like a good combination for me out of coding because I really like coding.
Really?
Yeah. I love it.
Not really as in I just am not. It's not my thing.
Well, it wasn't my thing in the beginning either, but then it...
No, but it wasn't my thing in my beginning. And
okay, it still
isn't my thing. Unless, no.
That's fair.
So that's cool for you.
It's perfect for me.
For you, yeah.
But they also have other positions,
Sure.
Yeah. But so it's every year the application. And if you're interested in that, I would recommend to apply for the positions you're the most qualified for.
All
right.
Because even if you read a position thinking like, oh, that's nice, but I think I'm not really qualified,
they're not.
You don't have a chance. Yeah. Like it's so competitive. You like really match your CV as good as possible to the position.
Yeah. Fair.
Yeah. Add some extra bits and bobs in there.
Yeah.
And so once you're done with your trainee program, do you already have future plans?
Kind of. I would like to do a PhD, or it's kind of certain that I want to do a PhD. The question is which topic and where. Because I don't know, like you probably know it from TUM, but it takes really long.
It takes way too long.
Yeah, it is way too long, right?
Crazy.
That's the only reason why I don't want to do a PhD. Not because I'm not smart enough.
There are other options. Like my brother is in the UK doing a PhD in mathematics, but like same principle for other PhDs. And that's done in 3 to 4 years.
Yeah,
and you don't have to do any teaching and stuff like that. So I'm okay with doing a little teaching, but I don't want to do like all the teaching and running the whole institute.
Yeah,
there's some chairs where that's more.
And then like writing my PhD in my free time.
About teaching. Yeah. Eventually.
So we'll see how it goes, and also where I get a position.
Yeah. And let's say the final question on this topic. In your opinion, do you think that the space industry is moving in the direction of inclusivity?
Good question.
Yeah, very good question, Gigi.
Yeah. I would say in general, yes. Especially in the last years. So I don't know if you have heard about the para-astronaut studies from ESA.
No. What would you like to tell us about it?
Yeah, I can tell you pretty quick what it is. So I don't know if you know, but they selected a new class of astronauts in 2022, I think. So, and within that selection, they also selected one person with a disability for feasibility studies to see if like a person with a disability can do a long-term mission on the ISS. Like, they're always talking about these 6-month missions. So, yeah. There they selected a guy which is called John McFall and who is an amputee leg. So that is a good step in the right direction. You know, then also like stuff like Astronaut has happened.
Yeah.
Independent of that, I was on the flight now, but it's continuing and, they're working on stuff. Then also like, like LunAres opened up the doors for people with disabilities and said like, okay, we give it a try. And I hope a lot of institutions will follow that examples. But also there's still a long way to go. And it's also in the mindset of people, right? So when I say I'm studying aerospace, a lot of people are like, oh, really? I'm like, why is it so surprising? Like, because I'm a woman, because I'm in a wheelchair? Sure. I don't know. Yeah. And I wish it would be not so surprising.
Right.
Like, that it, So I think a mind change is kind of needed, not for everybody and not for every company, but overall.
Overall, yeah. Okay, so towards the end of the podcast, we usually ask our guests for any advice for students. Do you have any?
Yes, I actually do. So what helped me a lot was to figuring out what I actually want to do, because you're having so many lectures and then you maybe like a lecture very much, but you don't know like what is the job, how would it look like when I would work on this topic. So I would do as much internships as possible. Like, of course, don't delay you. I kind of delayed my studies because I worked too much like next to it. But it was really helpful. For example, I told you I liked orbital mechanics a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I did an internship at the German space agency, like DLR, and the flight dynamics group, which is basically like orbital mechanics, and it was a great internship. Like the group is super nice, the topic is super good, but I'm now thinking like, should I do my master thesis in this topic or not? But I was kind of thinking, okay, I don't want to already get in such a specific topic, because there are not so many jobs and so then I went to MPE, like the Max Planck Institute for Extraterrestrial Physics, totally different topic. And so I kind of figured out more and more what kind of job would be interesting for me.
Yep.
So, and also make connections. That's like so important. Talk to people, and especially to people who kind of do what you maybe would like to do, and try to figure out what they're doing and if that's the right thing for you or not.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Michi, first of all, for the advice. And I really hope the students take it. And we also thank you for the chat. We had a lot of fun, honestly, talking to you. It was really interesting, and we wish you best of luck with the thesis and also with the trainee program.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to see what your future plans are going to look like.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you
thanks
so
for
much.
inviting me.
And thanks everyone to listening for another episode of On Air Actually Rocket Science.